Calling Barons. Tap for Colorless, pay for it, put 2 counters on it. Yeah, this card's great, always play it. This is more of a spell than a land, though. So make it like your 17th or 18th land. Probably your 18th land. This is going to be a Rumbler. You're going to get in there with that one. Or block with it or whatever. When there's a battlefield under your control, attach it to our creature you control. A creature has flying. This is a card that I hate. This card has been printed in the past. It didn't attach immediately, but it was just like 1 mana, 2 mana to get flying. I always lost to it. I never played it. This card is disproportionately good compared to how bad your deck is. So, the worse your deck is, the better this card is. So take that for what you will. If you don't have good rares and you don't have good removal, this is for you. If you have good rares and you have good removal, this is not for you. Utility Knife. +1/+1. Hard pass for me. That's not enough for me to be attracted. Stonework Pack Beast. All creature types. Mana of any color. These cards. Prismite type. Prismite's the card that this is. Prismite has been printed a bunch of times. Which is just. This has been printed a bunch of times. And this was like. You play this. Oopsie. You play this like 5% of the time. 5-10% of the time. You probably play this maybe a little bit more than that, 10-15% of the time. You'd have to have a lot of cards that cares about party members to play this one. 5 or 6. Weirdly enough, I think this card would have been a printable card if it didn't have that second text box. So the fact that it can also fix your mana is kind of interesting. Like a 2 mana 2/1 changeling is something that people would probably play. So yeah, it's an iffy. Probably a quarter of the time you play this, maybe less. Stair Supply is 2 mana, enters battlefield tapped, draw a card, sack it, draw 2 mana, tap it, draw a card. This card's great. You're gonna play it every time. Sealed is super slow. You're probably not gonna have a ton of 2-drops. So, and plus you get cycled up front. I love the colorless 2-for-1. Less people play landfalls more too. Arlic Axe. Enters a battlefield, attaches to a creature you control. +1/+1. If it was a warrior, +2/+1 instead. This card is probably good. It's also an uncommon. You're probably always going to play this. You don't need that many warriors to justify playing this card. If you have no warriors, don't play this card. But I think if you have warriors, it's so different than Utility Knife because it's only 2 to equip instead of 3. And it actually, the +2/+1 is actually like a card. Relic Amulet. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, put a charge counter on Relic Amulet. 2 mana tap, remove all charge counters from Relic Amulet. It deals that much damage to target creature. You don't sacrifice Relic Amulet when you do this. 6 round. I think this card's great. I'm assuming that you're gonna play this on turn 2, and you've got like between 8 and 12 instant sorceries in your deck, and probably 2 to 4 wizards. So you're gonna like half your cards are gonna trigger this. I imagine you're gonna get 4 charge counters on this over the course of the game, and I imagine that you're gonna kill a pair of 2 X2s. So for 6 mana, you're gonna deal 2 damage twice, and this is great. It can be better than that. I think 6 mana do 2 damage twice is like the floor for this card. I think it's gonna be better than that. This card's great. You're almost always gonna play it, assuming you're an instant or sorcery deck. Skyclave Sentinel, 3 mana, 2/3 flying defender. It was kicked, enters the battlefield, 2 counters on it. As long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. This card is phenomenal. This is kind of a bizarre card to have a common to me. Like Academy Drake was a blue common that was pretty insane in Dominaria. This thing, alright. 3 mana 2/2 flyer, 7 mana 4/4 flyer. This is 3 mana 2/3 flyer, 7 mana 4/5 flyer. Plus it has counters, so it might matter for some of your counters matters cards. Yeah. I'm on board. Love it. I think you're almost always gonna play. I think there are very few decks that wouldn't play this card. So, Defender's a pretty huge downside. I don't think so. Like, you'd have to be an extremely aggressive deck to not play this card. As in the past, in sealed decks, like 7 mana 4/4 flying artifact creatures, or 7 mana 3/3 flying indestructible artifact creature. Like, those are type of cards that would like top every deck in sealed. Doesn't matter like what deck you were playing, you would always play them. And if you just like, if this was literally just a 7 mana 4/5 artifact creature that with flying, I think you would probably play it almost every time. And that's what you should think it of. It's more of a 7-drop 4/5 flying that you can play it as a 2/3 if you have to. So, Skyclay Relic, indestructible. If you kicked it, if you paid 6, you get 2 tap tokens. So you get 3 of them if you pay 6. And tap them in it. Manalets have always been like kind of iffy and limited. It's also mana fixing. So this allows you to play 2.5 colors. And allows you to play like a giant kicker cost of like splash cards too. So I would imagine you probably almost always play this in sealed. In draft, maybe not. But I think in sealed, you're almost always going to play this card. If you're 2.5 colors, for sure. If you're not 2.5 colors, you probably wouldn't play this card. So, Relic Vial. Sacrifice a creature, draw a card. As long as you control a cleric that has whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is a white card, right? White is the only one that has any amount of clerics for this to be relevant. Secretly a white card. If you're not white, I don't think there's any way you play this card. Relic Golem. Can attack or block unless an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. 2 tap, target player moves 2 cards. This card's probably really good. You probably need to mill. You probably need to force them to mill 4 cards. Imagine this will be really good in the right deck and really bad in the wrong ones. So, the role player. Basically, if you're playing blue or black, you probably play this card. If you're not playing blue or black, don't bother. So, it's secretly a blue or black card. It has like its mana cost. It is like Dimir. Or 1 Dimir, I guess. Myriad Construct. Kicker 3. If it was kicked, enters the battlefield with a +1 counter for each non-basic land, whatever. So it's a 4 mana 4/4 that whenever a Myriad Construct becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it and create a 1/1 colorless construct, artifact creature. Okay. So the weird part about this card is if you target it multiple times, you get all the tokens, right? So imagine your opponent tries to kill it. Like throws an instant at it. If you throw your own instant at it, you're going to get 8 1/1s, right? The triggered ability doesn't actually require you to sacrifice it to get the tokens. It just sacrifices it and you get the tokens. You just do both. If you can't sacrifice it, who cares? You still get the tokens. This is a card you're probably always going to play. Because I think 4 mana, I think 4 colorless mana for 4/4. Your opponent pays like 3 mana to give you 4 1/1s is a card that you'd probably almost always play. So, like that's what it is probably. So, yeah, it's also a kicker card, so the cards that search for kicker cards can find it randomly. Lift the form engine. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets, so you can like trigger like landfalls, sure. Copy target insert sorcery creature you control. Okay. You may choose new targets for the copy, sure. Copy target permanent spell you control. Yeah, this card's great. You're always going to play it. Forsaken Monument. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for colorless, adds additional. Whenever you guys are. Okay, you're never going to play this in limit. You're just not going to do it. So. Like, I think if you have 2 Myriad Constructs, yes, you can play Forsaken Monument. I think outside of that, you're probably not going to do it. Seagate Colossus. Cost 1 less reach. Yeah, this card's great. It's going to be like a 5 mana 7/5, right? It's also a warrior. Cool. Yeah, I'm on board. You're probably always going to play this card. You're probably always gonna play this card. 6 mana 7/5, 5 mana 7/5. We don't talk about 4 mana 7/5. That's not gonna happen. Or 3 mana 7/5s. That's not gonna happen either. It's gonna be between 5 and 6 mana the vast majority of the time. And that's a card that you are going to play. Because I'm a fan of 5 mana 5/3s. I'm a fan of 5 mana 5/3s, and we got 5 mana 7/5s coming up. Alright, let's look at the gold cards. The Royal Chaser. Flying Haste. The next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, or X the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. Yeah, this card's good. You're always going to play it if you're blue-red. You're not going to splash. This is not a splashable card. So. Splashable cards need to be good on turn 6. This is not. So. If you're blue-red, you play it. If you're not blue-red, you don't play it. I think all these gold cards are going to be like that, unfortunately. Whenever you attack a player with one or more equipped creatures, draw a card. It may unattach an equipment. Okay, yeah. I mean, you don't want to splash for this, but if you're red-white, you play it. Power level of it is like, I mean, you need 2 equipments minimum, right? This will make you play like medium equipments. So. Drakmoth, Skyclave Ravager. Enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it. Whenever another creature you control dies, if it had a counter on it, put a counter on this. Whenever it dies, create an XX black and green Hydra token where X is the number of counters on Drakmoth. So it's a 3/3 when it dies, makes a 3/3. I mean, if you're black-green, you always play this. If you're not, you don't. So you don't splash for this either. Is this splashable, assuming you have enough equipment? I don't see how you would have enough equipment to justify splashing this. But yeah, this is just a Penumbra card. Even if you have no +1/+1 counter effects in your deck, you would play this card. Linvala, Shield of Seagate. Flying at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you have a full party. Okay, not gonna happen. Sacrifice Linvala, choose hexproof for indestructible creatures you control and gain that. Okay, but this is gonna be your best creature, so I guess you can sack it to save your dudes. I guess it gives all of your creatures that ability. You can give all your creatures indestructible. Okay. It's also a wizard. Weirdly, it's an angel wizard. Didn't even know angels could carry stabs. Yeah. This is actually a card you could splash for. If you're green-blue. I think you totally splash for this. Especially since green is most likely to have a full party. To detain something. Unlike the other ones, this is actually a splashable card, but this is a good, it's actually good on turn 6. Like, you could, like, this is actually kind of undercosted. I would pay 4 or 5 mana for this ability, right, for this card, so. Yasharn, Implacable Earth. Enters the battlefield, search away for a basic forest and basic plains, put them into your hand. Players cannot pay life or okay, well, that's a constructed thing, right? Sacrifice non-land permanents, whatever. So, yeah, 4 mana 4/4, draw 2 lands, great. This is literally not a splashy card. You can't splash for this card, right? I mean, like, maybe you could if you're blue-green. Maybe. Because if you're splashing for it, you're not going to be, like, you can't find a plains, right, or a forest, because you use the plains or forest to cast it. It's no longer in your deck. But I guess if you're just finding one land, it's probably fine. Even a 4 mana 4/4, find it like a basic forest or basic plains. Just one of those is probably fine. Yeah. Probably splash worthy. Yeah, it could be green. If you're green, I think if you're green based, you can splash for it for sure. Aura, Skyclave Hierophant, Lifelink, 4 mana 3/3. Whenever Skyclave Hierophant or another card you control dies, return to our cleric card with less circulator mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, this card's great. This is another cleric too. Like, green has the 5 mana 5/4 cleric, right? Gain 3. This is a splash worthy card, assuming that you're white. Assuming that you have clerics to hit. This looks like a green card to me. Because they have the 6 mana 5/5 vigilance, that's a changeling, and the 5 mana 5/4 vigilance, that's so. Yeah. This looks like a green black card to me. Zeretsan, the Trickster. Flash. Return an unblocked attacking rogue you control to its owner's hand. Okay, so it has Ninjutsu with rogues. Put Zeretsan, the Trickster, from your hand on the battlefield, taps and attacking. Okay. Whenever Zeretsan deals combat damage to a player You may put target permanent card, so planeswalkers or like equipments or whatever, from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Okay, this card's bananas, and you would splash for it for sure. It's kind of stupid. It's like it's in guys. If you're wondering, this was a bomb. I don't know if I've ever regenerated ink eyes, so the fact that it doesn't have it is whatever. So, this card was one of the best cards in that format. So I'd imagine this is splash worthy. So Phylath World Sculptor. When there's a battlefield, create a 0/1 green plant token for each basic land you control. So make like 5 0/1s. Whenever a land enters the battlefield you control, put 4 counters on target plant you control. Yeah, this card's great. It's not Rampaging Baloth. It's actually much worse than Rampaging Baloth. This thing, which was in the previous, like the original ones, the original Zendikars. But this card is still good, and this is splash worthy, and you're always going to play it. So Zagros, Thief of Heartbeats. Costs 1 less for each creature in your party. Flying Death Touch haste. 4/4. Other creatures you control Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy the planeswalker. This card is phenomenal. There's that 4 mana. Wasn't there like a 4 mana like wizard that pings? There's like multiple red creatures that ping, right? The 1 mana 1/1 when it dies. The 4 mana 2/2. The 4 mana 3/3 whenever you play an instant sorcery wizard spell. Wow. Yeah. Wait, it's also a rogue? It's also a vampire rogue. You can't see it on the big thing because it says R. It's also a rogue. Yeah, I imagine getting annihilated by this over and over and over. This card is a splash-worthy card. In fact, if you have it, I suggest you play it. Do whatever you can to do it, to play it. This card is great. So, Verazol, the Split Current, X green blue. It enters the battlefield with a... It's not Sunburst. There's a Sunburst card in the set. This is not Sunburst. If you play this on turn 2, it's a 2/2. Right? So, it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each mana spent to cast it. Whenever you cast a kick spell, you may remove 2 counters from Verazol. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This card is great. Always play it, right? I mean, this is a card you would splash for. Like, on turn 6, this is a 6 mana 6/6. That if you play a kicker, it's like you draw a card. So... yeah, it works on it doesn't just work on instants and sorcery, it works on kicked creatures, so you get like a copy of a creature. It's super easy to splash. No, you can't remove 4 counters to get 2 copies unless you play 2 spells. Yeah, it doesn't fly. There's a few cards in the set that look like they fly and they don't. Throne of Makindi. Tap to add a colorless. 1 mana tap. Put a charge counter on Throne of Makindi. Tap, remove a charge counter from Throne of Makindi. Add 2 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast kick spells. This card is phenomenal. You're always going to play it. Unless if you have like 5 kick spells, you're always going to play this card. It's also mana fixing. Lets you splash like a busted kick card. Charge lands are great, and you can just like keep on putting charge lands because you don't remove all your charge counters. So obviously you can't like remove 2 charge counters to add 4 mana, but I'm saying like over multiple turns you can just keep on adding 2 mana. This card is great. Yeah, you can splash the red burn spell. It's also mana fixing, right? You can be like a green blue deck splash, and this can be better than a mountain in your deck. If you're splashing like the 1 in a red, deal 3 to any target. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Base camp. Obviously, we talked about this before, where it was incredibly disappointing that this comes into play tapped. It's kind of bizarre. As I think, like, it's... yeah. I mean, you're always going to play it. It's going to be like a 2 or 3 color dual land in your deck. Potentially better than that. You're always going to play it. This is probably... Base camp is actually the most disappointing card in the set. Because they made a bunch of non-basics. Like, we've complained for a long time that slow decks, like control decks, Uro decks have always had a huge advantage because aggro decks don't have dual lands that come into play untapped. And then they just like print stuff like Base Camp, which is for a party deck that comes into play tapped, and a party deck would be an aggro deck. So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, Tournament Grounds. Tournament Grounds isn't even good. Yeah, that's the thing. Tournament Grounds is a card they printed in the past, and this is like in the same vein. And it's just not even good. And this was an uncommon, it comes into play untapped, right? There's no question Base Camp would be a phenomenal card if it came into play untapped. Let's not get this wrong. Our concern is not with the ability of the card, it's the fact that it comes to play tapped. There is no question this might be like one of the most played cards in Standard, right? Might be one of the most played cards in Standard if it came to play untapped. The fact that it doesn't means it's unplayable, probably. For grades, you're always going to play it. So, if you're green-white. This is not a card you splash for, it's not good on turn 6. But yeah, it's really good. Because it also can produce mana. Because if you're going to miss your land drop, you can actually like bounce your land. Like if you play this on turn 2, you actually have 3 mana on turn 3 because you can tap it to return your land and play it. Like tap your land, untap, like return to your hand, replay it. So this is good. Really good. Looking forward to playing with this one and losing to a lot too. When Robertos Base enters the battlefield, attach it to our creature you control. A creature gets +1/+0 for each creature in your party and has menace. It's like +2/0 in menace and then like 4 to equip. That's a pass for me. I don't think this card's good. This seems just worse than a 3/3 for 3. Mosfet Skeleton. If it was kicked, enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it. Wait, it's a 5-mana 5/5? It's Colossipede? If one or more ++1 counters will be put on a creature you control, if Mosfet Skeleton is in your graveyard, you may put Mosfet Skeleton on top of your library. This card is great. You could potentially splash for this, because 5-mana 5/5s are good on turn 6. And if your opponent was milling you, then this can actually help you because it like reverses deck damage slightly. You could splash for this, depending if you want 5-mana 5/5s. It is weird to be a plant skeleton. I didn't know plants could have skeletons. Thought that was the joke, is that they were plants because they didn't have skeletons. Soaring Thief, Flash Flying. As long as your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, rogues you control get +1/0. Whenever one or more rogues you control attack, each opponent mills 2 cards. Yeah, this card's great. You're always going to play it. I don't know if you play garbage rogues just to support this, because I think this card is good enough on, is it like a 2/3 flash flyer that mills 2 on attack. I don't think you need to play like garbage 3-mana 2/1 flying flashes to support this. Or like 1-mana 1/1 flashes rogues. The card is probably good enough without those. I like that you can get the bonus, like if you attack, whenever one or more, like you can attack, and before damage is dealt, you can, if they get 8 cards off the mill, then it pumps your team, including itself. This card's good. You probably don't splash for it. Not good on turn 6. But Low Mage is familiar. Tap to add a green or a blue. Whenever you cast a kick spell, gain 2 life. It's medium. Good stat line. Produces mana. It's good. It's fine. Whatever. It's a good 3. It's just a good card. If you're green blue, you play it. If you're not green blue, you don't play it. Umara Mystic, flying. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, Umara Mystic gets +2 until the turn. This is a strictly better We Dragonauts, which was a card that kills you from nowhere all the time. Yeah. This has been printed before, which was just a 3-mana 1/3 flyer whenever you cast an instant or sorcery +2/0 until the turn. This card has always been good. This also triggers off wizards. Itself is also a wizard. This card's great. You don't splash for it, though. Spoils of Adventure. A spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. You gain 3 life, draw card. Yeah, this is a card you can splash for. You would actually be willing to pay 6 mana for this. Kiss of the Misha was a card that you actually played all the time and splashed for. In previous sealed formats. This is what Kiss of the Misha was, which is 6 mana, target player gains 7 life and draws 2 cards. This is better. Guess so Misha was a sorcery, this is an instant. It's probably gonna cost 5 mana. Totally can splash for this, it's a great card. Cargo War Leader, other warriors you control get +1/+1. You can splash for this. Probably gonna be good on turn 6. It's gonna be like 4. This gonna be like a 4/4 or 5/5 for 3. Cleric of Life's Bond. Whenever another cleric enters the battlefield under your control, gain 1 life. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a counter on Cleric of Life's Bond. Yeah, this card's great. Just like an Ajani Primate, right? What it is. Doesn't get as big or as fast as a Giant's Primate. But yeah, it's a Giant's Primate. It's great. You don't splash for it. But if you're white-black, you play it. Rushfire Elemental. Rushfire Elemental can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Landfall. I don't even know if this card's... I mean, I guess you play this card if you're red-green. Maybe. Probably do. I don't like it. I think this card's much worse than played a GOP'd. You play it. It's not a party member. You play it. So... yeah, I like the fact that it can't be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less, even if you don't have a land. So it might still ping for 1. Yeah. There's a lot of room before to be worse than played a GOP and still be good. So. The fact that it trades with 3/2s is what I don't like. Alright. 3-mana 3/2s. So. That's the part about the card I don't like. It's definitely no splash for this card. This card's medium. Not a reason to play red-green for sure. Is not. This is probably the worst. This is probably the worst of the uncommons. It might be better than Misspot. Yeah. No, it's better than Ravager's Mace. Ravager's Mace is the worst one. Second worst one. All right. That's gonna be it. For set review, I expect that blue is the best, red is second best, and green is probably third best, and then black, and then white is the worst. So, blue, red, green, black, white. White is the worst as usual. White's got phenomenal uncommons and rares, so if you open up the right cards, you could totally play it. White's common situation is basically... it's basically Shepherd of Heroes and Core Celebrant dot deck. Kind of just depends if you open a bunch of those and a bunch of payoffs, right? All the white cards are all just so bad. The uncommons are bananas. Like Emiria Captain, Fearless Fledgling, Attendant Healer in like the white deck that gains life is bananas. Paratactician in a warrior deck is bananas. So yeah, I'll keep these in my freeform pot so we can like come back to them, because I have it separated into cards that are good and cards that aren't. Yeah, the problem is every other color got commons that like that draw cards, right? And then like white just didn't. I mean, I guess red didn't, but they get to have 2-mana 5/2s instead. It is weird how bad black's creatures are. It's weird. Super weird how black just doesn't have anything that costs less than 4 it's playable. Really weird. So it's the second worst color.